Once again, a disaster of immense magnitude is developing on the continent of Africa. While much of the world is concerned about COVID-19, and understandably so, East Africa has that to deal with, along with a terrible infestation of desert locust and now devastating floods. I'd like to read a little bit from a correspondent that we have, a Tomorrow's World correspondent in Kenya. And he tells us that East Africa is suffering a triple blow of locust, COVID-19, and flooding. There are nearly 300 million people. That's close to the size of the United States in population. We have about 330 million here, but an area of about 300 million people in East Africa are suffering this triple threat. Floods have destroyed whatever crops the locust didn't eat, and famine threatens the whole region. Prolonged rainfall has caused the worst floods ever experienced in some areas. Lake Victoria has risen by more than 2 meters. That's about 6.5 feet. And rivers have become raging torrents. Many thousands of people are displaced. A number have drowned. Some families have been buried alive by mudslides, and hundreds of sheep, goats, and cows have been swept away. Several bridges have also been taken out by the floodwaters, paralyzing transportation. Now, if there's ever a need for transportation, it would certainly be during a time of COVID-19, where supplies are so critical for any number of reasons, food supplies and other medical supplies, but also in terms of rescuing people who have been affected by such terrible flooding. Another source reports that 100,000 people have been displaced in the Somalia and Ethiopian region. How can we social distance? How can anybody social distance when you have 100,000 people that are going to be crowded into schools, crowded into makeshift camps with limited sanitation facilities and everything? This is a disaster that is happening. And it's very important that we realize that these are real, genuine human beings. It's because sometimes when somebody's far off, we just don't think of them as being as we are. But these are people who love and want to be loved. They love their children. They love their husbands and wives. They love their families. They just want to work and they want to live and eat, enjoy life just like everybody else. But 300 million have had their lives terribly disrupted by this triple threat. Our Tomorrow's World correspondent goes on to say, meanwhile, the heavy rainfall and warm temperatures are ideal for locusts to breed, so even more damage is expected from them. Curfews and lockdowns continue. And our reporter ends by saying, so it is rain, rain everywhere in the country. As I write this, it's raining cats and dogs. Millions of people are affected by it. Billions of desert locusts have already chomped their way through Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Djibouti, Eritrea, Tanzania, Sudan, and Uganda. And they've gone into the Middle East as well, as far as Pakistan, and the worst is yet to come. Does it seem, my friends, that something is wrong in our world? It isn't just East Africa, but the economies of the world have been devastated by COVID-19. It's hard to see how we can ever fully recover. Our countries are, instead of pulling together, they're at war with one another, different factions, political factions. Europe is struggling to stay together as one country after another looks after its own self-interests. We're living in a very dangerous world and a dangerous time. And frankly, my friends, we're living in what the Bible calls the time of the end, or the end of the age. And things are going to continue to get worse. We've only begun to see the disasters that are coming on our world. And we might ask the question, why? Why would a loving God allow such disasters to occur? Well, the fact of the matter is that we've thumbed our nose in his face for long enough. We've rejected him, we've rejected his laws, and he's trying to get our attention. But we don't seem to be getting the message. Yes, some people are, but as a whole, the world isn't getting the message. Instead of pulling together and cooperating with one another and looking to God and His law. It's self-interest, self-desire, what each individual can get. The hypocrisy that we see in many leaders, where they tell individuals to do one thing, but then they do something different. Well, we talk about cooperation, but then it's all politics as usual, and our countries are more divided than they've ever been. We're living in a dangerous world, and God is going to get our attention. What is it going to take to do so? I guess that depends on you and me and the rest of the world. When are we going to wake up, and when are we going to turn around and look to God for the answers instead of every place else for the answers to our problems? Be sure to subscribe to our Tomorrow's World YouTube channel so that you can be sure that you get all of these updates. This is Gerald Weston for Tomorrow's World. It's May the 26th, 2020. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you'll think about the things that we're talking about here at Tomorrow's World.